The ancient Egyptians described cancer in papyrus writings. The Greek physician Hippocrates named the disease after the word for crab because of some cancer tumor's appearance, a hard center with claw-like projections. In the centuries since, the best scientific minds have tried to understand what causes cancer and how it can be cured. More than 30 years ago, our government even declared war on cancer. The pace of discoveries has quickened, and we see stories almost daily about the latest research.
This would correspond to her pre, so this would be the very last of the test dose, so you can see that she came down.
1 in 3 women, 1 in 2 men will be diagnosed with some form of cancer during their lifetime. But how much of this new information do most of us really understand?
You assume it's genetics are involved in it?
Malignant cells running rampant, I don't know, something like that, I guess.
I know cancer is when people lose their hair.
It's a disease cell, I guess, simply put in my mind.
They're just enough different that it starts like messing up everything in the body.
In this program, we'll look at the very essence of cancer, what it is, how it grows, and what we've learned to stop it. For more than 60 years, the National Cancer Institute, a branch of the National Institutes of Health, has been the nation's epicenter for cancer research. In addition to conducting its own studies, NCI funds cancer research at medical centers and universities throughout the country. With an annual budget that now approaches $5 billion, the work has taken a path unforeseen when the Institute began trying to find a cure for cancer.
Our expectation was that that journey would very quickly lead us to the point where we had totally, completely eliminated cancer, cured it, if you will, or conquered it, if you will, in the war metaphor. That didn't happen. What did happen, however, is that journey has led us to an unbelievable discovery and understanding of cancer now at its very fundamental genetic, molecular, and cellular level.
Cancer cells can appear in almost every part of the human anatomy. But these are not alien invaders. Cancer cells are simply other versions of the same types of cells the body uses to construct normal tissue, blood, and bone. So how are cancer cells different? Robert Weinberg is a molecular biologist at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology and an internationally known expert on how cancer begins and grows. Dr. Weinberg says that to understand cancer cells, you first have to understand how normal cells organize themselves and behave.
When you look at a normal tissue, what you see really is a condominium of cells, a whole group of cells that are collaborating with one another to create an architecturally well-formed tissue and one that gives biological function. In fact, in the entire human body, there's probably on the order of 5 times 10 to the 13th cells. That's 50,000 trillion cells. And the great majority of them are placed in well-structured tissues where they're constantly talking with one another, collaborating with one another to create the tissue and coordinating their activity. You might think that there's a central governor somewhere in the body that tells all the cells throughout the body how they should behave. But that's not the way things work. The fact is, each individual cell throughout our body is empowered to make important decisions, albeit decisions that are strongly influenced by its neighbors. And that empowerment, or that license that the individual cells are given, also represents a danger.
On occasion, a cell may choose to go its own way, disregarding the needs of the normal cells within its midst. For this renegade cell, the only concern is unlimited population growth of its own mutant kind. In most forms of the disease, individual cancer cells go unnoticed until they eventually collect into a tissue mass called a tumor.
And all the cancer cells in a tumor are the descendants of a single cell that begins to grow uncontrollably. So that focuses our attention on the single ancestral cell and what told it to behave abnormally, or conversely, what allowed it or its ancestors to behave normally.
When a human egg is fertilized at conception, a single cell is formed. The cell copies itself, eventually producing trillions of descendants to form the human body.